Today I fucked up by applying mentholatum instead of Vaseline on my boyfriend's anus. So 2 days ago my boyfriend got real hungry at 4 a.m. and decided to eat spicy ramen. Yes, the one from Spicy Noodle Challenge. I advised him against it, but he thoroughly enjoyed it, so I let it go. Yesterday morning he had a raging urge to poop right after he woke up and then ran to the bathroom. He pooped a total of 5 times. 5 times. It was at a point where he was limping every time he got out of the bathroom because it probably ripped his anus from pooping so much. Fast forward to today and he's still bitching about the pain, so I decided to take the matter into my own hands. After shower, I told him he has to take off his pants and let me to apply a special cream on his anus, which he was reluctant in the beginning but caved in the end because he was in so much anus pain. So me being the good girlfriend I am, I made him get into doggy-style position where I could clear see his hairy anus. Then I took a mentholatum cream and applied it without thinking twice. 30 seconds passed by and he started bitching immensely. Then I realized I fucked up by applying a menthol cream which made his wound 100x spicier when I meant to use Vaseline. He's lying there butt-ass naked on the bed screaming as I'm dead laughing about this entire shit situation. Too long did not read. My boyfriend ripped his anus from pooping too much and I tried to help by applying Vaseline but used a menthol cream instead. P.S. In the end he washed and wiped it clean, then this time I used the correct cream. Update. For those asking why my boyfriend didn't apply it himself, he actually did not know how bad it was and has never done it himself. He was actually excited to see his anus for the first time in his 26 years of life. Took a pic but not sharing TYVM. Thank you all for the advices. Update 2. I used Q-tips to apply the ointment, not my hands. And plus his ass was way too hairy for him to properly apply it right onto the spot. How do either of you function in life? For future reference, use diaper cream with some zinc in it. Edit. Source. Have been having chronic GI issues for the last 3 months. Raided my baby's diaper drawer. It's like instant relief. Edit 2. I use maximum strength Desitin. Only 5 times and he tore his butthole? That's rookie diarrhea. Frankly, this sounds made up to me. LMAO, that fucked up. Here's a life pro tip. Desitin. It's diaper rash cream. Get a tube. Store it. Next time your butthole is a little tender or raw, spicy food, inferior TP, sweaty walking in bad undies, just throw a dollop on the ring of fire before bed. Instant relief and tomorrow's poop wipe will be much better. Great for vacation when you're eating and drinking stupid and using low-quality hotel or VRBO toilet paper. I accidentally did the same thing to my husband. He had thrown his back out and asked me to apply some bio-freeze, sorta like icy hot, to his back before I left for the day. I was in a hurry, so I grabbed a spray version instead of the gel I normally use. Well, it was summer and he was sweaty, so when I sprayed it on his low back it mixed with his sweat and ended up dripping down his crack right to his anus. So then he was in pain from his back and his asshole was on fire. I felt terrible, especially because I still had to rush out the door. This is a strange thing to do, emo. Why didn't he do it himself, WTF? Today I fucked up by introducing my widower dad to my husband's single mom. Obligatory, didn't happen today. My husband and I have been married for 5.5 years now. My husband was raised by a single mom, and my mom passed when I was 16. So each of us only had one parent at the wedding. Our parents met during the wedding planning, and quickly discovered how much they had in common and how well they got along. After a few too many glasses of wine, they danced together at the wedding reception. We noticed a little bit of flirtation between them, but didn't think much of it until they started seeing each other regularly after the wedding, going out together for drinks, going on walks together, going fishing together. Even though it was a little weird for us that our parents were ambiguously and later officially dating each other, we truly didn't care because they just seemed so happy. Yesterday, my husband walked his mom down the aisle to meet my dad at the altar. My husband's mom and my dad said their vows, and became husband and wife. And my husband and I became stepsiblings. TLDR. My husband's mom and my dad started a romance at our wedding, and yesterday they got married, which makes my husband and I technically stepsiblings. What are you doing, stepbro? You think this is awkward? Just wait until they announce they're expecting your little brother, sister. Your kids, if you have them, will be cousins to themselves. Honestly, it is very sweet. This is either gonna simplify or extremely complicate estate planning for your folks. Fuck up? Hardly. I'd give my left nut to introduce my wife as my sister wife every chance I got. This isn't a TIFU. This is just heartwarming. Be happy your parents are happy. This is kinda wholesome. If everyone's happy? It's not even a fuck up, right? Family tree becomes an oval. Today I fucked up by not knowing the shoe size of my SX doll. A few months ago me and my girlfriend bought one of those high-quality, high-price real sex dolls. They are made with a steel skeleton and soft tissue overneath, silicone or TPE. The TPE is really sensitive, though, so you are supposed to store the dolls standing or at best hanging. You would have to separate the head and screw a hook into their neck, which is pretty creepy, in order for the tissue not to deform. After a while the skeleton pushed through the feet of my doll, so I decided to buy shoes for her, just some cheap sneakers, so that the heels wouldn't be standing on hard ground the entire time it isn't in use but on soft soles to stop them from getting more broken. I measured the length of her feet and went to a local shoe store, expecting to find a tool that can translate length into an actual shoe size. I've seen such tools even in this particular shop, although many years ago, so I thought that would do it. However, as you might guess, I was wrong. No such tool in sight. So I went to the cashier, an old lady, maybe at the end of her 50s, and asked her about that. Circa. No, we don't have such things here. But why would you need it? At that moment I should have turned around and left, but I thought I could handle this discreetly. Me. Yeah, well, I need to buy shoes. For my niece. Circa. So you need to know her shoe size, don't you? Me. No. But I do know how long her feet are. It's 21 centimeters. Circa. That's clearly a children's size. How old is she? If you have never measured your feet, be aware that 21 centimeters is ridiculously short for a grown woman's feet. That's like shoe size 35 or something, which I know now but didn't at that moment. The doll however is 1.67 meters tall, so what should I tell her? Me. Well. She is 14. I made up a fake story of my niece being at a visit and her shoes broke down or something, so I went to buy new ones. The cashier got increasingly suspicious. Circa. Just look up the size of the shoes that broke down. Me. Yeah, well, that's sound advice, but now I'm already here. Circa. So why don't you call her or her parents then? Also, why would you measure the length of her feet but not look up the actual size of the shoes? In my mind I started to realize what this whole situation must have looked like in her eyes, but I also didn't want to tell her the truth in case she might recognize me. Our city isn't that big and basically everybody knows each other. So I had to back down and tell her that I hadn't have my phone with me, thanked her for her help and went home. I'm really glad she didn't call police on me. I googled the conversion at home and went back the next day to buy shoes the right size. Luckily there was another cashier. And #X200B. Too long did not read. I wanted to buy shoes for a sex doll and looked like I kidnapped a little girl. Oh, and by the way, please say hi, if you ever read this, Edit 1. People ask me why I would need a sex doll if I had a girlfriend. I mainly use it when my girlfriend is not at home. It was sort of a compromise because I always wanted a threesome and she couldn't imagine sharing me with another person. Also, my girlfriend is not always in the mood. Not nearly as much as I am. And sometimes she indeed gets off watching me use the doll. Edit 2. The doll is shaped like a woman, not a child. Don't know why people expect something else. I've posted pictures of it on my profile. The best lies are deviated truths. Next time just say something like shoes for a doll made by your grandmother or a prop for a movie, play. IDK. I have worked in a shoe store and that person is way too interested. Headless sex doll hanging in the closet with weird fucked up kid feet is proper nightmare fuel. That moment when you have to get shoes for your plastic woman or her metal skeleton will punch through her flesh and kill you. Son, the fuck up started a lot earlier than this. In a world where we have Google at our fingertips where you could have just looked up the conversion. Shouldn't someone who works in a shoe store be able to sell you shoes based on a measurement? It seems like they were being purposefully difficult. Like my parents always said, if you're not ready to take care of a sex doll, don't get a sex doll. Today I fucked up by accidentally using a slur for over a decade. Throwaway because I don't particularly want this linked to my main Reddit account. So, perhaps not a today I fucked up but today I realized I fucked up. When I was a little kid, maybe 7 years old, I spent a lot of time with my WW2 vet great-grandpa. He served in the Pacific and survived the sinking of the HMS Repulse, the Battle of Singapore, and working on the Sumatra Railway. I promise this becomes relevant. Either way, when I was a kid, I thought his little phrases were brilliant. He was a complete Cockney, so had heaps of slang for me to pick up and use. One phrase was, "It's a bit Pearl Harbor," when it was cold outside. I couldn't work out what the rhyme was, but I loved it and used it nonetheless. Now I've used this bit of slang for over a decade, and when anyone asked it was always, "Just means it's cold out, don't it?" And it was never a problem. Now, the more astute of you may have already figured out where this is going. I, however, am not particularly astute. Fast forward to today, 12 years down the line, where I'm walking out of a cinema with some friends. It's cold out, and I remark, "Bit Pearl Harbor, ain't it?" I'm asked what it means, and for some reason, instead of the usual, "just a bit cold," I decide to spice it up a bit. Means there's a nasty nip in the air, don't it? Oh shit. That, for all you watching, was the sound of the penny gracelessly clattering to the floor. After 12 years in freefall, it finally struck the ground, and hard. For those unaware, nip is a derogatory term for the Japanese. The same Japanese that my great-grandfather hated with a passion. I suppose 3 years in a Japanese POW camp will do that. And I had accidentally been implying it for most of my life, thinking it was some harmless rhyming slang. The mockery has not yet stopped. Too long did not read. Copied one of my great-grandpa's figures of speech, calling cold weather, Pearl Harbor, turns out it alludes to racism. Oops. We were stationed at Pearl Harbor and I couldn't figure out what it was supposed to mean. Did anyone know what you were talking about when you said, "It's a bit Pearl Harbor," all those years? I'm British as well and wouldn't have a clue. Although to be fair, Brass Monkeys is similarly convoluted. A lot of people have those moments lol. I know I have. As long as it isn't on purpose, I suppose. That's interesting because far as I know, in American English, nip was not used as a pejorative for the Japanese, or if it was, the connection has completely vanished in modern language. In the WW2 context, Americans would use Jap derisively. I would say, nippy, without second thought to mean chilly. I learned a new slur today. So I was concerned after reading this because I've been saying nip my whole life. The hamster nipped me. Nip the problem in the bud. I googled it and nip does mean to bite and pinch. So just to check, it's only derogatory as a noun, right? To be fair, I have a friend, ethnic Japanese, who has lived her whole life in Japan except for college. Once, while I was visiting, she used the word nip in conversation with her family. I was a bit shocked, though they were even more shocked that the word could be anything other than the diminutive of Nippon, the Japanese name for Japan. When I first moved to England, I once called a girl a slag after we finished having sex because I thought it was an endearing term or something. She was really hurt and I felt bad.